don't want to learn about him, don't want anything about him. They want to have to change what they're doing and they're attached to what they're doing. So they're basically they're the same industries who don't want to surrender to Krishna. Out of obstinacy, which is what is purport today, he's talking about this obstinacy. So they don't begin devotional service. They dodge it, they avoid it, they argue against it, anything. They just won't do it. But, of course, there are 4 kinds of pious men. Might as well to be balanced, so I read about them too, so you can feel a little positive. 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. What makes a person pious? They've done some good deeds for others, some good deeds for the sake of morality or for the sake of other people. They've done some good deeds and they become kind of pious, a little bit less selfish. So they begin, okay, so 4 kinds. Begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So these are people who are a little open to giving something other than just being selfishness. So they're pious. They're giving of themselves. They purify a little bit by that. So they may still have material desires. They come to Krishna for them. We experience that sometimes people come and they immediately grab onto devotional service. They're not one of these. They're just waiting for somebody to tell them there's such a thing as devotional service to Krishna. And wow, yeah. But they have begun in a previous life. And there's also those who have one of these situations and they get persuaded and they become, they gradually accept devotional service. And as Prabhupada taught it, if we simply read Prabhupada's books and associate with each other according to Prabhupada's instructions and follow his instructions, we will be pure devotees in the sense of not doing our devotional service for a material purpose. So in that sense, we'll all be, we're practically guaranteed to be that kind of pure devotee. Not that we don't have anartas, not that we're not distracted from Krishna half the time or most of the time, but we aren't doing our devotional service for any reason except because we want to learn how to love Krishna. And so that, if you're following Prabhupada, you're protected. You can hardly avoid being at least that kind of devotee. And so we also have, as when you're really pure devotee, you have no jnana yoga or bhakti yoga left in you. Now we may have some interest in those other areas, but when we do our devotional service, we aren't doing it because we're going to gain knowledge and become, superior, knowledgeable people by serving Krishna like a payback. Generally speaking, devotees in this movement aren't doing like that. Or because when we serve Krishna, I'm going to get some money. Hopefully not. If we're really following Prabhupada, we really read and hear in class and so on, we're protected from that kind of thing because he gives us so many guidelines and guards against that in the way he explains things. So it's pretty wonderful how Prabhupada has done that. So anyways, these are pious persons coming to devotional service. So at some point we have to come to devotional service and be willing to begin to do it. And we might even be tricked into it. Like in old days we used to give stickers or hats or something. I guess they still do that some places. And people give some money and we turn it into the deities. And so that would be called a gyata sukriti, unknowing devotional service. And so people, with the idea, hopefully, that all these people will become purified by doing this. And some probably slowly working. But at some point, knowingly or unknowingly, you come to the temple, you don't know what's going on, but yeah, it's nice to take prasadam. It's nice to hear. It's nice to sing. Okay, these are devotional service. But you don't know it. But you're starting to do devotional service because you're not resisting it. But then there are some people who come and they go, these people are wrong. Too bad, I'm right. These people are wrong. It's too bad all these nice people are so wrong. I've known Christians to come to visit the temple and just be untouched. And I know I had one, we're still friends. I still keep up on Facebook. She actually was not untouched, but she cried. And not because she touched her heart, the devotional service. No, because such nice people were going to go to hell. Anyway, but somehow we're still friends anyways, and because the genuine friendship is there. We liked each other, so we keep up a little bit. And but the devotional service didn't touch her. Well, I guess it did indirectly because it made her care about the devotees. So maybe that counts.
Maybe she was thinking about the nice people that she knows in her Christian church, that they're going to be I'm such a nice person, but I'm going to go to hell.
Yeah, she should have been. Maybe indirectly she wasn't, she didn't know it, who knows.
Were you talking?
Huh?
It reminded me of something, but you want to keep continuing in your class. What it reminded me of was, there's a place called Union Baptist Church, so my youngest daughter, she used to do T-ball there, so the exact same thing is going on, where they're thinking, oh, those Hare Krishnas, they're going to go to hell. But I'm thinking, well, at least they got some nice chocolate chip cookies.
So now they won't have to go to hell. So the Hare Krishna, the devotees are actually the most generous toward other people. Even they get treated bad, and they're trying to give them a cookie or something, so at least this poor guy who treated me bad won't have to go to hell. The devotees are actually very generous. And there was a cartoon, which I probably talked about before, but anyway, I always liked it. When I was a new devotee, somebody told me they saw this cartoon. That was about from the early days, and the two guys in Santa Claus suits, they hate each other. I probably talked about this. And the two Santa Claus outfit people meet each other. One says Merry Christmas, the other says Hare Krishna. And the one says Merry Christmas louder, and the other one says Hare Krishna louder. And then it shows, the ball of dust and the arms and legs sticking out of it, and, having a fist fight. And then it shows two guys sitting on the ground all beat up, and one of them says, take a book. So this is the nature of the devotees. That's why I like it so much. The nature of the devotees is that because they know, so they want to give anyway, even to people who are offensive. Even if somebody beats them up, at least can they take a cookie, at least something. They want to give. They're not envious toward other people. Whereas the others, they don't have enough knowledge because they're obstinate. And they are obstinate because they don't have enough knowledge, and it's this circle, and they just won't let anybody talk to them. And so they are kind of envious toward others. They want it to be true, that everybody else goes to hell, so that they're sure, so they can be sure that they'll go to heaven. So they want to know that there's that contrast. Because they don't have any more knowledge than that. So they don't have anything else to hang their hopes on except that everybody else is going to go to hell. It's too bad because it makes them envious of others. But that's their ignorance and their obstinacy. So there's always a choice. One can say, that's interesting, I'm going to look into this. Or one can say, I'm better, and just not. So.
Well, envy is what got us all here anyway.
Envy can mean anything. Envy can mean a lot of different things. It can mean, originally it means I want to be like Krishna. I want to be Krishna myself. Or, so we come here. And then we might be envious of somebody who has more power, more of something than we have. Or we might just be envious toward, we don't want somebody else to have something that I have, or something equal, or even anything at all. Or maybe, envy goes to the point where I don't even want that person to have that body, so kill him. So envy can mean a whole range of things. It doesn't mean you want, sometimes people say, I've heard people say, to even insinuate that I would be envious of that. I don't want anything they have. Yeah, but you don't want them to have anything. You don't want them to have happiness. You don't want them to be comfortable in the moment. You don't want them to be, ultimately, maybe you don't want them to have a body or to have the success or something. This is envy, different kinds of envy.
Meat eating is envy.
Meat eating is envy. I want the body the cow has. Because it's going to make me strong instead of the cow. The cow is strong. The cow shouldn't be strong. I should be strong. So, like that. Yeah, so there's there's so much envy. And because the point in this purport was about how, by the desire for sense gratification, which also in chapter 7, 24 through 29 that I just read, this desire for sense gratification covers up, and you can't see the, you get covered up, and one causes the other, and that causes back. Ignorance causes the obstinacy, and the obstinacy causes the ignorance, because that lust, that envy, the lust to enjoy for self and the envy is still there. So it comes back down to lust and envy. So we do have, just because we're on the path of pure devotees, so we can be called, in a certain sense, we're pure devotees rather than devotees who are doing devotional service in order to get something non-devotional out of it. But still, we have these anarthas that we have to watch out for. We do have some desire for jnana and for karma, even though we know enough to not mix them too much with hopefully not mix them with our devotional service. We have those desires in our heart, and we have lust and envy in our heart. So this is an Anartha Nivritti time when we are working on these things, becoming aware. Anartha Nivritti means getting rid of our anarthas. And in stages of advancement, there's first Shraddha where you start to have some faith, this is worth it, this is interesting. And then this is something I should go into. And then Sadhu Sangha, you want to hang out with the devotees and learn from them and be like them. And then Bhajan Kriya, where you get up to the point where you get initiated by a spiritual master and you get trained up, right? And then Anartha Nivritti comes out in full force. It's been happening all along a little bit, but it comes out in full force when you get initiated, then things get real serious, and you gotta discover your impurities. They come up one after another and embarrass you a lot of times, make you act wrong, and then you have to deal with that. And so you gradually work through these things, and sometimes the Lord just helps you and takes something away. And then you get up to Nishta, which is only halfway up the stages of advancement. Nishta means you're steady in devotional service. It means more than just showing up for your scheduled service on time, like that. It means 24/7 steady in your heart for Krishna, and not disturbed by the lower modes around you and that kind of thing. So when you get to Nishta, then you can qualify for the higher stages of advancement, where you get attached, deeply attached to devotional service, and you get deeply attached to the person you're serving, Krishna, and then you feel the emotions of it. Then you start to know who you are to Krishna, and then you get up in Bhava, and then prema, it's totally pure. So it's way up there, but we're working on getting to Nishta. Most of us are working through our anarthas and to get to the Nishta stage. And then we'll understand the higher things gradually. So that's why we shouldn't go where people have this, some devotees have this idea that you got to go to a guru who can tell you what your eternal siddhadeha is, your eternal spiritual constitution with Krishna is. But they just decide for you what it is, and then you practice it, and it's supposed to be. But that's a false method, because they don't know, and you don't know, and you will know when you get up to the higher stages, past Nishta and past the first stage, up starting the second one, you start to get a glimmer of what it is, and it will happen naturally. So we try to take a shortcut and go to some guru who's supposed to tell us what it is, because I really want to know what I am up there. Then we won't get it right. We won't. It's false, and it's against Prabhupada's instructions. He wanted us to get a good foundation and grow naturally. So I think I'll stop there. Comments, questions? Yes.
Could you read the verse one more time? This is running.
Okay. Oh, it's running now. Okay. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creations, and the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Is that the same wording as here? Yeah, okay. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. That sentence, Narada, you are quite competent to understand this, is an explanatory kind of translation of this Prabhu, which is O Master. So in other words, the father of Narada, the teacher of Narada, called Narada Prabhu. So he's honoring that Narada is a person able to understand this too and be a master. So it looks like, after many times reading this, for some reason it just my brain gets lost by the end of this sentence. But there's three features on modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Seems to mean it correlates to the powers that evolve matter. So that would be goodness, knowledge of material creations, that would be passion, and intelligence that guides might be the other way around. Powers that evolve material matter must be ignorance. But then we have to figure out how to connect the lines. And it's not sure. I can't tell. And the purport really doesn't focus on that so much, to analyze that verse as much as it does focusing on the predicament of the living entity who is not competent to understand this because of ignorance and obstinacy and not wanting to do devotional service. So the more we're willing to do devotional service, like inside and outside, the more we can dedicate ourselves to Krishna and surrender, then the more we'll understand this and all these things. Anybody else?
That was 2:5:24.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you want me to read it because of the
Yeah, it's running.
This is Tanya, okay, yeah. So,
So, the Merry Christmas thing. I noticed that if you say Merry Krishna, it somehow, because they're hearing Mary first,
Mm-hmm.
they'll just go with it.
I ran into a lady, I was trying to hand out flyers at a Harinam, and she said, I'm a Christian. And I said, good, Hare Krishna. And she smiled. Because she thought she heard.
Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I said, oh, it must be Christmas. A Christian.
Well, I don't know if you remember, I told this story that happened when this was probably 75, 76 in Atlanta. There was the Yogi Bhajan group was there was well represented around America at that time. They used to wear the turbans and have beards, and even the women had a beard. No. One young man left Yogi Bhajan, and when he left, he took the sound equipment that he had brought there, and technically he said hadn't actually given it to them, and he wanted to take it with him and came and joined the Atlanta Temple. So they sued us which was, I thought was, because normally they were very favorable to one another. They were actually suing him, I think, but I don't remember. No, I think they sued us, and because I was there with our lawyer. So they wanted the sound equipment. So, and it turns out we were in Decatur, because we're in the city of Atlanta, but the county of Decatur. So that's a big difference, Fulton County over Decatur. Decatur's like, especially back then.
You probably in DeKalb County, right?
No, we're in,
DeKalb went through time.
No, I think it was called, is it DeKalb?
The city is called Decatur.
But we're actually in Decatur, not...
That's the city of Decatur.
Yeah, on Ponce de Leon, on Briarcliff.
Yeah.
On Briarcliff, half of the road is city of Atlanta, and the other half is Decatur.
Mm-hmm.
Literally splits down the
Right.
road. So we were in Decatur, and so anyway, we had something like that. Anyway, we had to go to the courthouse in Decatur, and we were in DeKalb County. That's what it was. So there's one judge there that was born again, very bellicose kind of individual. You'd just see him preaching and pounding the Bible kind of thing. And he was like a hanging judge, almost, they would call themselves. So they come in with the beards and the turbans, and I can't remember what kind, they had like long kurtas and yogi pants or something. And we had suits and ties on. and we had just a little bit of hair, but now sneakers were here. And I told him specifically this is what we should do. And though the lawsuit says the Yogi Bhajan's suing the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now he thought it said the International Society for Christian Scientists.
Christian Scientists.
Yeah, something like that. Or Christian Society, something like that. Christian Society, the International Society for Christians, or something like that. Christian Consciousness. Yeah, he said for Christian consciousness. Yeah. So, so the guy, first of all, their lawyer, I don't know what he was on, and it was like maybe his first attempt at actually doing a cross-examination, or he was like leading the witness, and he was really bumbling and stumbling, making a fool of himself. And so he's really struggling, trying to get out what he wants to ask. So then the judge said, well, let me help you, boy. So what basically you're trying to say is that you want them to give you back what has been given to them by this young man. And go, yeah, that's it, yeah. well, son, have you ever heard of an Indian giver? Indian giver is an expression in America that, so, and he thought, well, they're the Indians, and he said, you want to take these nice Christian boys' sound equipment, and you're a bunch of Indian givers. And everyone in the court knew that we were Hare Krishnas. And especially even his aide-de-camps.
Whose lawyer was this? Hare Krishna's lawyer?
No, this is the judge.
The
The judge.
Okay.
But he had a deeper voice. So you want to give back, but you're an Indian giver. These nice Christian boys over here, and everyone's just
What is Indian giver?
Indian giver means that you give something, and then as soon as you get it, you take it back.
Well, like they did to the Indian.
Yeah,
Native American
we'd
Indians.
give them some land, and then we find out we had gold on it.
Oil.
This isn't the right place. We meant that place over there, the swamp over there. Then we found out the swamp's got oil. Oh, we didn't mean there. We meant the desert. Oh, the desert's got silver. Oh. So, that was one thing. There was one experience I had with it. But there's a joke I could tell about this. What she was saying about going to hell. Okay, so this is this young person, or this individual has died, and now he's how the Christians feel like they're the only ones who are going to go to heaven. This is not necessarily about going to hell. It's about how the Christians think they're the only ones, or certain types of Christians. So a person dies, but he was non-denominational. He didn't belong to any denomination. And the way the joke is that he's met at the gate, the pearly gates, by Peter, and Peter says, well, you don't have a denomination here. Basically, everybody stays with the group that they were on earth. So this is going to be a problem. So what we're going to do is take you around to the different groups, and then you can decide which ones you want to be with. So first he goes and takes them to the Catholics, and he sees the Catholics, doing rosary and doing various prayers and singing. And then he takes them over to the Jews, and they're praying like this, and then he says, now this next group we go to, you have to be very, very quiet. We can't let them know that we're there. So just be very, very quiet. So then he goes and they watch, and then as they walk away, he says, how come with them we have to be so quiet? He said, you see, these here, they're Baptists, and they think they're the only ones here. But actually, it's,
Not that it is. I heard that joke before.
oh really?
Well, it's
You see,
really
well, actually, after my experience in Tennessee, I think it's the Church of Christ.
They all got their own private room.
They really believe that unless you're baptized by them, even if you have been baptized and you read the Bible and you live a Christian life, if you're not baptized in their building, then you aren't going to go back.
They can't see that that's envy.
Yeah, I actually asked him. I was with Colin, and I became friends with these two couples. One was the head preacher, and the other one was like the head deacon or something. And they took us to breakfast one morning, and in Lynchburg there, and they knew we were vegetarian and everything, so we were real careful. And so they're explaining to me how one of the wives' grandfather had been baptized in the primitive Baptist church, and that he would come home. He was a blacksmith, and, the beginning of in the 1920s, still in that area, there were people, they needed horses with horseshoes put on, and he lived right up near where we were living. He said right across the road there from where you were living, that was my wife's grandfather's place, and he would come home every night after doing his work there at the blacksmith, and he'd sit down at the rocking chair and read the Bible all night. And so they were talking like that about how dedicated he was, but he's not gonna go back to heaven because he hasn't been baptized. I said, wait a minute. So you're saying that her grandfather, who read the Bible every day and was living a Christian life and was baptized, but he wasn't baptized in your building, he was baptized in that building over there, that Jesus Christ, who displayed all this mercy, all this compassion and love, even to the point of being crucified for the fallen souls, the sinners, that he will withdraw his mercy of love, compassion, because her grandfather was baptized in the wrong building. And they went, yeah, that's exactly what it means. Yeah. I mean, they can't see it, they can't
What kind
understand
of
it.
logic is that?
No logic. It's, because that, in that case, it has to do with money.
Oh,
The bigger your congregation, the more money is coming into your coffers. That's what it really comes down to. It's a business.
sad. That much ignorance is really sad.
But they were very nice and they were very generous. They actually gave me a big donation, help with the surgery. They were, they were. And so I went with prom. We sang gospel songs with them. Amazing grace, how sweet. And then I would put in Hare Krishna.
They didn't notice?
Yeah, they're all singing. I'm going, and they're singing Hallelujah, and I'm going, Hare Krishna. Hare. Yeah. Some good gospel songs.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you.
Merry Krishna.
Much.
Happy Rama.
I'm going to Srimad Bhagavatam.
Don't forget the sale tonight, this evening.